Hi, guys. Another early show for you from New York. This is your host, Young Brando. Welcome back. Um, we're going to talk about watches. I tried to squeeze in as much work as I could in the AM and let the inmates run the asylum for the rest of the day. So we're back here, hopefully, once again. Some of the subscribers from the UK, from continental Europe, and in fact, West Asia and South Asia will be able to join us again, like they did yesterday. There's lots to talk about in the world of watches, as always. There's a lot to talk about in the run up to the World Cup final, of course. That's something that we can get into at some point. There's so many narratives running into that particular game, that particular occasion, that it's hard not to be interested in it, even if you are not a fan of any of the teams, any of the players that are involved in the final, or even a fan of the particular sport. I mean, uh, on the one hand, there's Mbappe, who at age 19 was the youngest player to score in a final, in a World Cup final after Pele. And now he has the chance to score perhaps again and win the cup again for France and somehow end up as the youngest back to back world champion after Pele once again. And there's no third team that has achieved that. Well, for now, there's not even a second team, right? After Brazil in 1952, I want to say, is the year where they became back to back world champions. No other team has achieved that kind of success, that particular honor after them. So this will be incredible. And whatever happens in the final, since they have hosted in 1998 and since they have won their first World Cup, the French have been in four of the seven finals from 1998 until now in 2022, which is really an incredible feat and shows you really how much they have invested in sport and in that sport in particular, um, and what kind of a pool of talent they have amassed. I mean, some people were going through some of the starters who are missing from the squad, who have missed out on the World Cup this time around. And Kunku, Kimpembe, Kante, Benzema, of course, Paul Pogba. There's so many other players. You know, you can easily build um, an entire 11, and in fact, another 26 member squad that would be competitive. I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, they could possibly win the cup with a B squad or something, but you know, the pool of talent they have is simply amazing, and they have in the last two World Cups. Imagine they're playing back to back finals, and they're not even the best playing team. I mean, in 2018, they certainly were not, and even in the final, there were so many questionable calls before the game broke to their end, um, went their way. I think the penalty um, was not a penalty in that final. But anyway, like what an amazing success to be in back-to-back finals, even after not necessarily being the best team, being the most being the team that plays the most attractive football, being the best attacking team, whatever. But this time around, actually, I need to give them some credit. I think the French, much like Argentina, who is their opponent, of course, has gone from strength to strength from the first game onward. And I think even though they had patches against England and against Morocco too, although they were already 2-0, they were already 1-0 up and had missed so many chances before Morocco started uh, finding their feet and gaining some momentum. Even if there were those patches of poor play on the part of the French, where they seem to have not only weathered the storm, but also struggled against England, against Morocco. They seem to have consistently gotten better. And they have players like Hugo Lloris and Antoine Griezmann who have outdone themselves, who have overcome expectations, who have played better than they have, at least for in the recent time period. And that's the sign of a great team, right? It's not only a good team, it's not only a good player. When you talk about someone like Griezmann or someone like Lloris, it's not just a good goalkeeper. That's a great goalkeeper. Look, I mean, as a Spurs fan, I have been one of the first to complain, change this guy, get a better keeper, spend whatever you need to do. This guy always has a mistake in him. I won't take it back, but you have to recognize, the kind of player who rises up to the occasion, who is there for the big games, who is there for the big saves, big assists, big goals, who is there to make the difference for his team. And players like Hugo Lloris and Antoine Griezmann, among others, were really those players for France. Boston Collector, it's so nice to see you. He's saying, I want Argentina so Leo Messi gets his World Cup. That's the other story. That's the other storyline, right? Because in 2014, he came pretty close. It wasn't a particularly exciting final, Argentina versus Germany in 2014. In a way, you can say Argentina deserved more until then, and they even created the better chances in the game, but they just could not. They could not do it. Much in the way of Netherlands against Spain, right? Where Netherlands had some great chances, especially with Robben, and they just could not score. And then Iniesta did, and Spain won. And Spain already, of course, was building on this great success of what has been the golden of all golden generations, the most golden generation that has ever goldened. With that ultimate trio of Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta, of course. But then again, you had Argentina, Germany, Argentina, especially Messi, were really performing perhaps above and beyond the expectations until the final, and they seem to have choked in the final. And there's this conversation, of course, the greatest of all times, which is something, which is the kind of showmanship, of course, that Muhammad Ali introduced into professional sport. And I don't know. I think it's a different conversation. Being the greatest of all time is not something that can be measured only by the achievements you have in the ring, on the field, in your particular professional realm, right? Because if you leave it to that, even you have to sweep away even Pele, Maradona, and Zidane, and all these other legends, because none of them have been as consistently successful, both on the club and international level, as Messi, and not even as Cristiano Ronaldo, right? None of them scored these many goals in official games, right? I'm not talking about the mythical counter that they had for Pele that ticked every second. Most of that stuff is not even documented. Not to play down his achievement, right? Just to point out that Messi and Ronaldo really performed at a level that was unseen before them, and that will probably not be seen very frequently after them either. But especially when it comes to Messi, he just doesn't have the personality as Maradona. He doesn't. He has a different personality. I think he is, if you ask me, both in terms of talents and accomplishments, he is many times the player that Diego Armando Maradona is. I apologize to Maradona fans. I think it's incomparable. He doesn't need to have a World Cup to prove anything to anybody. Messi has already surpassed Maradona by a country mile. I don't think there's even a comparison. But it would be the icing on the cake. He came so close in 2014. I think he deserves to get something out of it finally, just as he played 4 Copa America finals and won finally in the 4th one. I hope in his 2nd final now, after 2014, he wins. And I say this with a full heart as a CR7 fan, as a Cristiano Ronaldo fan. John D makes an interesting point, saying whichever team is the underdog, I want that team to win. Well, you are S out of luck this time, John D, because basically the odds makers have placed them more or less even. I think when they first announced the odds, Argentina was evens and France was maybe 11-10 or something like that. And now they're both the same. And as you know, the odds get reconfigured and reshaped in the direction of the money at this point. So there's no underdog in the final. This is a real 50-50 game, if you ask me. I think France will win, but I really want Argentina to win. So maybe I am probably saying 51 France, 49 Argentina. But hey, Messi is so special. There's people will constantly say that, yeah, he carries the team, or he ought to carry the team, and he ought to win them the cup. But really, I think it's great injustice to both him and his team, because there are so many other good players who bring different aspects of the game, different kind of playing styles, who really allow Messi to play the way he plays. So it's unfair to Messi, if they don't win. I don't think it will take away from the kind of player that Lionel Messi is and has been. And if they do win, I don't think we should take away from players like Emiliano Martinez, the goalkeeper, from players like Otamendi, from players like Paredes, from players like Julian Alvarez, from players like McAllister, who is as close as a Scots Irishman will ever come to a cup. But how exciting is that, right? You have a McAllister in the final, and he plays for Argentina. So much for Craig Burley being the most important Scottish World Cup player. All right. Joking aside, that's a very interesting game to me. So many wonderful storylines really going in, and of course, it's an extra intrigue, of course, that both of the superstars actually play for PSG, uh, are actually teammates. So there's the potential of sour grapes at the end of the day. Um, and I know it's not necessarily everyone's favorite, and a lot of people called for its elimination. I mean, there's no third place game in the Euros, in the European Championships. I don't think there's a third place game in Copa America, but there is a third place game, and there is a bronze medal match in the World Cup, and that is going to be contested between Croatia and Morocco. And again, I mean, Croatia, for such a young country, they have been at this particular level for so long, and not only for this generation either. They need to be given credit for that. Of course, Modric is pretty special, but Croatia has been producing players at that level now for generations, and as such, and in terms of an independent nation playing in these kinds of tournaments, I don't think. I think Euro '96 was the first tournament that they qualified for, and in 1998 they were already playing a third place game. And Morocco, as it happens, is not only the first African first team from the Arab world to contest a semifinal, but also I think only the third team that is neither European nor South American to appear in the semifinals. USA apparently had a bronze medal, so was part of the top four in the first ever World Cup in 1930. And then, of course, 2002, in a tournament that they co-hosted with Japan, South Korea made it all the way to the semifinal as well. And Morocco is only the third team, among all these teams that have made it to that level. There are only three non-European and non-South American. So it's an immense achievement for Morocco and Croatia. Of course, having come so close, they would have loved to win, and Croatia, especially after the heartbreak of 2018. But a third place finish wouldn't be so bad either. Hands, knees, and toes. Thank you, man. I love you too. I love you too. And yeah, I tried. Finally, I look like a little bit more like my age instead of a 60-year-old man. Messi for the cup. The next one I won't read. But yes, thank you for the compliments. A fair isle is always a classic. So I love wearing these kinds of jumpers, these kinds of sweaters around this time of the year, and I try to start with things that look a little classy and have that sort of classic look, and evolve or devolve to the ugly sweater look as we get closer to the next year. So let's see if I can break out some of my ugly sweaters before the end. And I do agree with this sentiment. Again, I don't know if it will happen, but he's the captain. It would be an iconic image if he lifts that cup. To me, by the way, that's something for those of you who who are football slash soccer fans, share with me what is your um, most iconic cup ceremony. What's the most iconic moment in these kinds of triumphs? I will share with you what I think is the most charismatic celebration ever for winning a World Cup trophy. Let me see if I can find the actual moment, because it's just so cool. I mean, you might not be able to predict what I will choose here, but it's just so amazing and cold-blooded that this is 1974 when Germany triumphed against the Netherlands. And that's for the youngins who don't necessarily know their history, that's Franz Beckenbauer with the captain's armband, Der Kaiser, as he was usually known. And this is the most charismatic moment in World Cup history. That's it. Lifted once towards the stands, lifted once with a cool little smile on your face towards the field, and that's it. Yeah, so share with me as the show goes on, if you have any particular moments of celebration, of triumph, of cup ceremonies that you thought was cool, that you thought was touching, that you thought was really meaningful or charismatic. And I will send the link again, so feel free to jump on the panel to talk watches or to talk football. I will, in the meantime, go through the Sunday part of the Phillips auction that I didn't have a chance to attend. These are, just to remind you once again, the numbers, the results indicated in that magenta color in the Phillips auction specifically include the buyer's premium. So what you see is exactly what you get. For example, the 116519, the Daytona Beach in the Chrysoprase dial version with the matching set was sold for $69,300. And of course, the auction having been held in New York City, these amounts are in American dollars. As always, feel free to draw my attention to any of the particular lots. If you do that with a super chat, even better. How am I spending Christmas? On Christmas Eve, I'm flying back home, actually, from New York to Los Angeles. And I do not have, my family is an ocean away from me, so I don't get to spend the holidays with them. Christmas is not necessarily my holiday, but I'm no, how to put this, I'm no Grinch. I'm not against it. In fact, having lived in the US now for almost 2 decades, and having properly become an American, I sometimes find myself whistling to Christmas tunes once every so often. even though at the beginning I really detested it. I was really fed up with the fact that they were playing these Christmas songs everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I get into the spirit of the season, so to speak. But no, there's no special person in my life, and the family is an ocean away. So it is what it is. I have you guys. Look, hands, knees, and toes loves me, and money is always the best way to show your love. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. £2 sterling. I appreciate you. I love you too. Allah Allah.
Hi there.
How are you?
Okay. What's cooking?
أخبارك إيه يا باش مهندس؟
ماشي الحال. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله.
الحمد لله.
Yeah, I was since I had promised my audience that I will go through the second part of the Phillips New York auction, of which I'm posting snippets online as well in the form of shorts day to day. I was making my way through them, but if you want to kind of divert the conversation, if you have something on your mind, if you have an agenda, Professor,
Agenda? No.
Why
No.
not?
Please continue. I enjoy. I think when also we'll have our general join and Sir Saint Thomas. We can have a nice conversation like yesterday.
We have everyone, again, we are, as much as we moved away from the Archieverse, which was once described by a very influential member as a cult. I'm glad we are preserving the cult-like atmosphere where everyone is a sovereign, lord, saint. It's beautiful. I love it. Mike David, 20 New Zealand dollars for a vegan Christmas pie. Hey, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think I will have some sort of ice cream. Vegan, I haven't found. I think it's just me because I used to be such a big fan of pies, especially pecan pie, when I was merely a vegetarian professor.
Oh.
I just don't find something that gives me the same sort of satisfaction in vegan form. So I gravitate towards different desserts, and it's the same with my usual meals too. I would rather have like a hearty lentil dish rather than a vegan burger with fake meats. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to replicate what a carnivore eats necessarily. But I appreciate the sentiment, Mike David. I really, really appreciate you. I love you. Yeah. What are you planning for the holiday season, for Christmas? You guys are truly in Christmas spirit now, since you are basically frozen in. You have to stay with the family whether you like it or not. So you might as well enjoy it and do something together. What's the plan?
The plan is we are trying to manage, relax a little bit, although it's not easy because kids are back from school, so you need to manage the kids during the entire time. I think going around here in the city and nothing significant. Plus, they in the after the new year they have my son has some serious exams for his senior school, so there is a lot of support and tutoring that goes on. Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of of Christmas per se are more. You can have Christmas every day if you're okay. If you're
Well,
okay with yourself.
one of the beautiful things, of course, about being an Orthodox Christian resident in Western Christendom, so to speak, um, is that you can literally have Christmas just about every day, at least twice. You can have it. You can have it towards the end of December. You can have it in early January. Have another
Yeah,
one in the middle. Why not?
yeah. You can have one on the 25th with a large group of Christians, and then you can have it with the Orthodox folks and the Copts of Egypt on
And
the
cups of Ethiopia as well. But
Ethiopia. Yes, not to forget the Ethiopian church. And I think the Armenian Orthodox are also on the 7th, right, Lord?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I mean, I like this time of the year. Again, when it comes to Jewish holidays, maybe it's not the most important one necessarily, Hanukkah. Not in terms of the festive aspect of it, not in terms of the theological significance of it, but anyway, still, it's fun to be part of it in the US, where everything is, of course, commercialized. Which brings me to
Mm,
Hans' question, actually, to you.
to me.
Uh, he said, "El profesor, what was your best present ever at Christmas?" So, what's the best Christmas present you have received, and maybe given as well, either or both, whichever you would like.
So usually the gifts I have received are of material value, have never been received during Christmas. So all of them, have come during the non-Christmas season. Um, yeah, and during the non-Christmas season, in the past I've said during our live streams that I've received watches as gifts, which I don't wear because they're very precious. Um, that's it. That's really the non-Christmas gifts. During Christmas, I mean, over the last few years, especially as I've established a family, it's really little things here and there. So it's not grand. I don't get a car or whatever. I mean, usually it's more about the kids and how they feel and create an atmosphere. I think there's an important point you make, and this is the only agenda I have for today's conversation. I was thinking about the topic since this morning, knowing that we were going to have our discussion today. I was hoping to listen to Saad and Thomas. But one issue is this about watches. I was thinking, why is it important to have one watch, one and done watch, versus all the other watches that we tend to have and we don't really enjoy as much? Of course, you are amongst the minority because you wear a lot of them and you enjoy a lot of them. And I think a lot of people do not, they go into this drive to buy the next one and the next one, and there is never an end to this. And I do believe that one should have, get an expensive watch, but buy one and have it and wear it. So whether it's a platinum or a all gold or yellow or white, get one or two and then kind of stop there and enjoy them, because the watches will outlive you and us and me. um, and it's important to enjoy stuff. We tend to go into what you said, the consumerism. Christmas Christmas is a very consumer-oriented holiday. We are meant to give presents and expensive presents, and people are not satisfied. And I think during the more difficult times, we tend not to satisfy ourselves. And I often see in these YouTube sessions, panels, the non-stop drive to buy the next one and the next one, and we all go into this endless, tunnel of never satisfying ourselves. And that's why I'm a great believer in the one and done watch, or
Well,
two and done.
you know, I'm a little bit of two minds of it, um, because at a very profound level, I agree with you. I think none of us really needs more than one watch. So I do at points I do yearn uh, for the simplicity sometimes of when of just owning a Rolex Submariner, my 5513, which I would be absolutely happy with, or the root beer on top of it, which was the first serious watch that I bought for myself, the 16753. Um, on the other hand, I'm also a little bit vain, and that's why I wear, and I don't even have to make an effort. I wear every single watch that I own, including the Seikos, including all the different luxury watches, the old ones, the more emotionally significant ones. And sometimes I think of it as a challenge. Uh, I put it on my wrist, and then I start thinking about my outfit. What can I wear? What, what shirt? What sports jacket? What jumper? What sweater can I wear that will go with this watch? So I find it like a challenge, and that's why I challenged myself to come on this trip, leaving my Rolexes behind, and spent basically an entire month. I mean, a little more than 3 weeks, really, not wearing any Rolex, even though, again, admittedly, I'm a Rolex fanboy. I will never go beyond it at a certain level of enjoyment. But yeah, so to me, because on the one hand, I recognize the vanity of that exercise. We don't need to own more than one. You don't even need a luxury watch. I mean, I could be happy with my Seiko King Turtle. I'll be fine. I can wear that watch, uh, to the gym, to the pool, to jog outside, to work for the office, to have sex. You don't have to take it off. It's not the kind of watch that needs any fuss or muss, any kind of extra thought. It's just on your wrist, and it does the job. Um, yeah, so I would love to do that at some point, but for me, that is as much of an aspiration as having this or that type of collection, because I do despise the world we live in, right? Where everything is commodified, where everything is a like or swipe left, swipe right, where everything becomes disposable the moment you own it. You want to move on to the next one. The
Yeah,
moment you
yeah,
start dating someone, you already start looking for faults. The moment you fuck a woman, you want to fuck another one. It's just like, we need to heal ourselves from this mentality. We need to scale back a little. So I completely am on the same plane with you.
yeah. I'm not saying don't buy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that my fight with life, with consumerism, is how to control our inner behavior and thoughts, how to contain our consumer tendencies. I mean, one for some people it's done naturally because they don't have money, and the system provides credit, and then you go and borrow, and you have your own troubles if you over borrow. But the other thing is that you need to we all need to contain ourselves. It's difficult because you guys in America um, do live in a difficult heavily consumer oriented society, and now it's just, you see it in all functions. There is a new model. There is the watches, they produce new models. You feel, oh, what is this watch? I don't have the new one. I have to get the new one. Then use the new one. You get the new one. You say, I'm going for the next one. And I was talking recently to one of the local authorized dealers, and she was saying, John, I'm amazed with the collectors, or the so-called collectors. Um, the once they get their watch, the thing that they have been waiting for some time, for many months, immediately the day after or a couple of days after they get it, they say, when am I getting the next one? When are you going to get me the next one? When am I going to get the next coveted piece? How long will it take? I mean, and I asked her, I said, do you do the same in your own kind of way of behavior? And she said, look, I when I buy a bag, I have the same thing. I want to get the next bag, and then the next bag, or the next shoe. But I do have this inner fight constantly, but I do face the same challenges. So I think, and I said, is it a common thing? Do you think everybody has it? And she concludes that it's a human trait. I mean, everybody has it more or less. I mean, if you're conditioned to be poor, you're not going to be buying watches, obviously. You're going to be trying to make ends meet. But I often find in the collection world, whether it's pens or watches or cars, I have a friend, very wealthy guy. He has like 30, 35 Porsches, and it's never ending for him. It's never, I want to get the next one, and he buys collectible pieces, and he can afford them for sure. Then, I asked him one day, are you happy? Are you happy? I said to him, John. And he said, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. I said, well, you got the room filled with cars, and more cars and more cars. I mean, you don't drive all of them. And which is your favorite? And he said to me, this is my favorite. Let me take you for a ride. I said, if I were to take all these cars and you drive one, would you be okay with that one? He said to me, now that I've done the journey, I would probably have one. I said, would you have the same uh, feeling if you only had one? And he said to me, probably not. So I'm just voicing, the only way for us average people, income wise, I'm an average person income wise.
Thank
I'm not flying in private jets. I don't own. I mean, I fly, but I don't own. I don't pay for the private jet. I fly with people who have the ownership and the money. Is the only way you survive in capitalism, in this consumer oriented, conspicuous consumption society, is to have this inner, beast controlled as much as you can. And I'm not saying don't buy Seikos. One way, when I was not buying expensive watches to contain my inner beast, was to buy cheap watches, the G-Shock, the Seikos, and wear them and change them, and have that kind of feeling, and contain my purchases, because I would run out of money, and I have to feed a family.
Well, I mean, w- I think through analogies, it perhaps becomes a little easier to turn this whole conundrum in my head, and your friend's journey with cars, I think, is in a way relatable. I mean, I haven't gone through um, 30 or 3 dozens of luxury watches, but um, I think after I have gone through, and intimately experienced maybe a dozen, in terms of owning or at least keeping for a few months, I think now I could be happier. Let's say if I hung up the gloves and gave up on my illustrious YouTube career one day and said, at age 90, I want to move into an old people's home, and I want to have just my Submariner, and the rest can be sold, auctioned off, and the money given to some sort of charity. I can be happy with that, but I'm not sure if I didn't scratch this itch at some point in time, whether I would be happy with just owning one Rolex and one Seiko, or those two Rolexes. And I'm not saying that in a way to say I wouldn't be satisfied. I could be, but that must have been an undisturbed, naive mind, in the sense, like, oh, I have a watch. It's my father's watch, and I love wearing it. Like, if I could be that oblivious to everything else that's significant about that watch, from a historical standpoint, from a horological standpoint, from even a commercial standpoint, from the perspective of Rolex's lifestyle marketing for decades, if I were completely ignorant of all those different narrative threads that make that watch um, even more important as an heirloom, and even more important than an heirloom, I could go through my life with just that. But since I caught the bug once, I had to scratch the itch. I had to go through the journey, and now I can be happy if life forces me to scale down, or if years, down the road, decades down the road, I want to go another way, and I can be happy going back to just one watch. I think you muted yourself somehow, Professor. You don't look muted, but I can't hear you. I don't know what happened there. I can't hear you. Maybe jump out and jump back in. And Loose Tooth actually sent me a great link. I will start talking about that, and you'll join me, Professor, after you jump back on. Please stand by. Yes, Bruce G. Welcome everyone also who has just jumped in. Orange Hand, Bruce G. Thank you for being here. Feel free to jump on the panel as well. Feel free to send in your questions and requests. But this is apparently a piece that Momentum Dubai posted very recently. It's a model they call the Eye of the Horus. Has these brilliant cut diamonds on its indices, of course, a diamond bezel, 1804 from 1963 in platinum. So in a way, continuing on our conversation from yesterday on platinum day dates, that was, of course, a piece from late 60s. This is a piece from late 50s. This is a piece from early 60s, made for the Middle Eastern market, apparently, with Arabic dates, Eastern Arabic numerals, Arabic day as well, and a very peculiar and very specific kind of guilloche dial decoration that seems to emanate from that aperture for the date, kind of a cobblestone type of design, but perhaps a little more intricate and a little more minutely detailed than the way Audemars Piguet does the tapisserie in the Royal Oak. Can you speak, Professor? No, we can't hear you. Do you want to restart, or is it just me? Can anyone in the audience hear the professor? I don't think it's just me. Bruce G says, is it great being back in New York City? What's been the best part of being back in the city? Something you're still looking forward to doing? It truly is great. The greatest part of being back in the city is just the ability to walk mindlessly, aimlessly, in most parts of the city, not only the island, but also in Brooklyn, also in Queens. You know, there's not this sort of strict separation in New York, in most parts of New York City at least, between residential, commercial, and restaurant, entertainment parts of the city. Everything is jumbled back together, all over the place. And I like that urban mess. I like walking through it without a particular intention or project, and just discovering things again and again. Go. I can hear the background noise, which means it's
Okay.
working.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Now we're good.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, Bruce was asking me what I like about being in New York City, and I was just saying, like, you know, just the ability of walking around aimlessly, you know, without any particular intention or project, and see where your feet take you. In Los Angeles, unfortunately, we don't have this experience. There are pockets of the city. There are parts of the town that are walkable. But that's a unique experience. Here, you can do that at any part of the city. The public transportation system I really missed. You know, being on the subway. Great. And I just like, again, nothing against the people of Los Angeles. There are a lot of people I like in Los Angeles, don't take me wrong, but I love the people of New York. It's just the way they carry themselves, the way they move through the space, the way they take care of themselves, whatever walk of life they come from, whatever part of the world they may have just arrived from, or their ancestry might be traced back to, they're all beautiful. I love this city. It's an irrational attachment at this point. I came of age here, so I guess that has a lot to do with it. Something that I'm still looking forward to is basically taking the train out. Next week, hopefully, I'm going to Providence to meet my friend Bezos. And I'm gonna do that either Tuesday or Thursday. So I look forward to taking the Amtrak and just somewhere else on the East Coast, and that will be Providence. And maybe on another day I will go to New Haven. Although I don't know. I think we had our wires crossed with Bill Sanders, so maybe I drove him mad. Maybe he's angry at me a little bit, but I thought it was just miscommunication. But anyway, it's I'm looking forward to taking the train from from New York, basically.
Beautiful watch.
Right? I had never seen this dial before. Jay Gray seems to be raising an objection, but
No.
I don't feel it's necessary. I think Rolex has made so many special dials and configurations for the day date. Nothing surprises me at this point, but it is very beautiful.
I think if I had it, I would wear it. It's a timeless piece. You would wear it even today, and nobody would think that this is from the 1960s. Um, that's the beauty. Saad asked a very good question yesterday about the Submariner, as he calls it, or the Submariner, whatever you want to call it. Why? What is the good and the bad? And one thing I didn't say is that it transcends time, or I said it and I forgot. It's a timeless piece, and the beauty of the piece is recognized and recognizable. I was watching today um, an old movie from the mid 70s. I don't know if you know All President's Men with Robert Redford and what's the other guy's name? Um, the short guy. What's his name? And they were playing the two journalists who found the Watergate scandal.
That,
You know,
yeah,
Dustin Hoffman. Yeah,
I was gonna say that, but
yeah.
yeah, Redford is wearing 1680 there with the red writing.
Timeless, timeless, and that's the beauty of the Submariner. It's timeless. It goes through the decades, and it's a recognizable icon. I mean, it is really in essence Rolex. I mean, that is Rolex for me. Also, this one is Rolex, but the Submariner or Submariner is has this beauty. Whether we like it or not, it's okay. Is it functional? It is functional. Okay, do they change the bezel and they put a green one or a blue one? It's okay. This is the gimmicky thing of Rolex. Rolex plays with that, but yet it maintains a certain static beauty. It's a static beauty in time, and everybody loves it. Whatever they say about the Submariner, oh, it's not nice, it's not innovative, it's not this, it's a beautiful piece that goes through time seamlessly. And had you had that watch of Redford today, you would think, my God, I'm wearing a piece of art.
It really is. I have, it's one of those things that I actually posted on Instagram uh, a while ago, but not too long ago. So I will be able to dig it up, I'm sure. And it's
And Redford is a right-handed watch wearer, so yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is that's supposed to be his watch. So he actually wore 1680 with a red line of writing. And then I also have that scene from the movie at a certain point in time. Let me see if I can dig that up really quickly.
Oh, you have some very beautiful pictures. Ah, I could see a familiar face. Mr. Tudor, Prime Minister.
Yes, sir. Um, let's see, where do I have him? Ah, right there. That's the scene.
That's the scene. Yes, sir, that's the scene. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. That's the beauty of the Submariner. Timeless, you know. No, nobody can change that. Omega can do whatever they want, but you know, Rolex is Rolex, and the Submariner has a place in history unique to everybody else. So yes, it's no thrills, no bells and whistles. It doesn't have. I mean, you can put anything to it. You can take it and add whatever diamonds and whatnot. But it's a beautiful watch. I prefer personally the no date. A friend
Two.
of mine said to the date to the date. I
Of course.
prefer the no date.
I think there are two things that I want to say about the Submariner. One is um, there's a certain simplicity and balance to the design before the introduction of the dates, before the introduction of the Cyclops, that makes me prefer the no date version. And the second thing is also, in a way, it's kind of like the story of, without exaggerating it. I know it might be offensive to some, so try not to take it. But it's like Socrates and Plato. It's like Jesus and Paul, right? There's the 50 fathoms, which is actually the original, which is the one that comes before, but the one that comes after kind of supersedes and takes over and kind of absorbs all the significance of what has preceded it. I mean, by now it's been historically established that the Blancpain 50 fathoms is the first diving watch, professional, modern, built for the purpose. All the patents about establishing not only something that is watertight with an exceptional depth rating, but also something that has a timing bezel, something that has that sort of legibility, everything. Yet 50 fathoms is not a fraction of the icon that uh, that the Submariner is, unfortunately. And I love the 50 fathoms as well. Uh, Same way. We are reading all these Socratic dialogues, but they're actually penned by his star student, right? Plato, who has taken on that role, or Paul has somehow become perhaps more important than any other historical or theological figure to the modern understanding of Christianity. But anyway, without getting too distracted and without really, again, offending anyone in the audience, that's never my intention. I just want to say there's something mythical about Submariner as a piece of iconic design that
Yes.
that's even more important than its historical significance as one of the first professional dive watches ever made.
Yeah, I like the word you used, mythical. I agree, and I agree what Hans is saying about the sub and in the chat, the sub being equal to the Porsche 911.
Mm. Yeah, and again, just to pay due credit um, to Jean-Jacques Fichter as well, who was incidentally from Alexandria, um,
Ah,
and
I didn't know that.
who was the inventor of the modern dive watch in the form of Blancpain 50 Fathoms, and who has passed away earlier this year, actually.
I didn't know that. I didn't. He was born in Alexandria, Egypt.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, I should have said that because there are about a dozen other Alexandrias, right? But he was born in the Alexandria of Egypt. Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, you have one in Virginia and so many others, and yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, cool guy, certainly, Jean-Jacques Fichter, who was lost to us earlier this year.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And then, of course, the other point from the mid 70s, we go to this other one with what's the name, Jaws, where you see again the submariner appearing with what's his name, Dreyfus, wearing it, and what's his name, this nice actor, what's his name, McQueen. Also, McQueen had a submariner. Yeah.
He
Is that
basically,
a submariner?
yeah, he basically had only submariners. He had a lot of 5512s and 5513s. Of course, for the filming of Le Mans, Hoya put the Monaco on his wrist, but I even have some photos on the Instagram again, and please do follow me on Instagram, where he is on the set having this, like, unguarded moment, just taking a break, playing with dogs and stuff, and he has already reverted back to his Submariner. It's, to me, it's really funny. I mean, they issue him a watch to wear in the movie, but he likes his own watch so much. When he takes a break from filming, it goes right back on his wrist. To me, that's very telling. Always. Where is it? It will come. It will come. Ah, there it is. This is on the set of Le Mans, right?
Mm.
He has a Hoya here, and then he had another, right here.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
again, on the set, he just changes into his own watch, which is something, right? Because again, I'm sure he loved that chronograph as well, and that's something that became melded with his image as well. And it was something new, something shiny, something quite also remarkable at its time. I mean, it's one of the first integrated self-winding chronograph movements. It's the first waterproof self-winding chronograph, the Hoya Monaco. So he could have just chucked away his old watch and could have been swept away by this shiny new object, right? But he was a better man than that, for sure. That's also true, Orange Hand. Yes, he had many other watches, but he mostly wore his 5512.
And he never had an Explorer. The Explorer 2. He never had one.
Italians and their marketing genius. You have to admire it. You have to admire it. That's what, again, that's another myth that has completely transcended anything factual. Speaking of subs, by the way, here is Dame Vanessa Redgrave, who wore a 5513 in the famous Antonioni movie blow up.
Okay.
Where is it? There's a slightly better shot here when she's wearing it over the sleeve of her
Yeah.
right here.
Nice. I mean that's the beauty of the Submariner. And maybe we should do a session about movies and in the 70s or 60s with the Submariner. I mean the 80s and 90s it becomes a little bit too obvious. I kind of like the 70s myself. Between the Submariner and the GMT, you have a lot of movies that showcase, and I think also it's the marketing campaign of Rolex that really takes off in the 1970s, more so than the 60s. And the 70s really is if you were wealthy, really the Submariner was what distinguished you. I mean, it was, I think, at that time in the 70s, the most iconic instrument of wealth beyond what we think today. I think it was way beyond than what we think today. I don't know what you think, but that's kind of a history of the Submariner. At least from my culture and my the things the stories I would hear from people is that in the 70s the Submariner was a unique piece of wealth. Um, in the early 70s, in the mid 70s, it was very unique. Not a lot of people knew it, but to buy it, it was expensive. And for the Europeans, it was an act of opulence. Um, yeah,
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it was a very iconic piece in its time, and it was, I think, um, in a way, that's why Omega at the time, especially, was kind of reverse snob move to get an Omega, right? In the sense that I know my watches, but I also know better than to spend that much money on a Rolex, right? So there's that aspect too. Again, where my allegiances lie.
yeah.
There's no question about that. But I've always found that crosstown rivalry or hometown rivalry, deal bien between Rolex and Omega.
I think it will always be there, but I have to say to the Omega followers and collectors that Omega will be fantastic, but it will never reach Rolex.
I mean, not in our lifetime.
Not in our exactly. I
You know,
agree.
the numbers, Professor. It's not only Omega, but Rolex, both in terms of the sheer amount of revenue generated and in terms of units sold. Rolex basically does the equal amount of the next five out of the top
Yeah,
six.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
comparison in terms of
yeah,
the. We can talk about other things. You can, if you really want to get down to the brass tacks, so to speak. You want to debate whether the coaxial movement is superior to Rolex's, run-of-the-mill self-winding movement, whether some of the boutique brands, independents, and high horological, giants make a better watch than Rolex. That's another debate, and perhaps it's not even a debate. A lot of these questions have very obvious answers, but there's also again, there's mythology and there's the realm of fact, and we have to somehow contend with both. Rolexes are more than mass produced, if you ask me, but they are, in fact, probably a great example of a mass produced luxury product in many ways, more than perhaps a lot of, more than an Hermes bag, more than a Louis Vuitton trunk, um, more than a Tiffany piece of jewelry, more than a Bulgari piece of jewelry. It is, I think, the ultimate example of a mass-produced luxury good.
Yeah, which is more or less integrated within, vertically integrated within the company. It has a unique structure, unlike some of the mass-produced luxury products like cars. Mercedes and BMW doesn't produce its components entirely within the family of Mercedes. They go to smaller companies and other companies for parts and components. So it's a unique phenomenon, unlike any other brand. Yeah, I agree with you, Lloyd. Definitely. I took yesterday's idea of Saad, our general, and I asked somebody, can I, how, which of the two watches, the Platinum Daytona or the Day Date, can you get if I'm interested? And the oh, thank you.
Thank you, Floodland. Thank you so much. And by the way, I realized while I was setting up this show, I didn't actually end the poll and say something about it. Towards the very end, the Platinum Day Date still had a slight lead over the Platinum Daytona. So that's what the community / the poll has decided.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, okay, fairly the same. I mean, you can say, right? It's about even.
It was like 51, 52% to 49, 48%.
No, okay. So what I got from this friend who, yeah, can source these things not at a premium. I never buy in the gray market, and not at a premium. At an authorized dealer, let's put it this way. The answer I got is that yes, but we don't know which of the two is more rare, because both of them are very rare. And I said, how rare is rare? I mean, is it like the Daytona and the Daytona Steel? And they said, no. It is rare. We don't see it. I mean, if you're interested, and we get one of the two, we will tell you this is one of the two, and you decide. But you cannot just go in and say, give me that, give me the other, and let me wear both. So it goes to what Saad was saying yesterday, that they are very, very, very rare. I asked about the Eisenkieser, and they said, look, it's available. You tell us. The other two, tell us again within brackets, within brackets. Do not think that, you can give me a call and I'll distributing Eisenkiesels. But these two in particular, I was told, they are very, very, they're the most rare of the lot. And I said, what about the green date? They said, no, that's rare, but it's more accessible than the Eisenkiesel. But once you exit the Eisenkiesel and you go into the platinum territory, forget it. So I wanted to comment on that because it was very correct what Saad said, and Saad is. Um, he said once that I'm an encyclopedia, but I think he is a supercomputer of on day dates, and I think uh, having this fantastic knowledge on day dates is really showing the appreciation of the brand on things that we tend to forget because we're all concentrated on the Pepsi, the Starbucks, the I don't know what, and we forget that there is another category that is equally difficult to access. One, because they're very expensive, and two, um, they're not for everybody. The other ones are for everybody as long as you get into a list. And of course, you buy the garbage first and then you get the good stuff. But the platinum is meant to be, very, very rare. So that was a little bit of news to me at least, but it proves the point of Saad.
Yeah, a lot of these things have to be basically special order. That yes, Rolex offers a lot of options, a lot of different dial configurations, and precious metals for the day date. But most of this stuff, even in the days where you could see plenty of watches in the case, those
Yeah,
were not really the kind of watches that were ever assigned, like as if it were some random arbitrary act, to a dealer. A dealer either had to, by his own accord, order something like that to Rolex, like we saw in that Eye of the Horus 1804 platinum day dates, like a very special kind of design with region specific day and date indicators, wheels, or it had to be ordered by a customer, and it takes a while to get it. But yeah, the accessibility of those were more in the realm of true exclusivity, in the sense that you had to go out of your own way, put down maybe half of it or a third of it as a deposit, order it, and pay the full price when it comes. I mean, that's the
yeah,
kind of watch. Um,
yeah. I think so. I think so. I like on one of the comments, if I may,
of
uh,
course, tell me which one.
Lord. I like the one that Hans says about, yeah, that one.
Tired of watches. I want to sell everything and keep just one. I made my mind up. Life is short and I want to have only one watch to make memories with, period. Just haven't made my mind up which watch to make, the one and done. I've lined up my buyers. Most are mates. When I pull the trigger, that will be it. Game over. My Hulk has been banked for my son. All others will be sold.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I'm in a similar mindset with Hans. Yeah, I want to have one and done. Obviously, not the one I have, which is the black GMT, the all black. I'm tired with it. I mean, I want to get one and done, and have memories with it, and that's it. I like that philosophy. Of course, it will. I will have to rob a bank for me to buy the platinum. Um, um, but I'm also of the mindset that between the two, this is for me the one and done. It lies somewhere there, either the day date or the Daytona platinum. In the platinum Daytona came as a result of our discussion with Ozzy Expat, and I think he made a point. Whilst with Saad, I think the point was made that the day date platinum is the epitome of the one and done philosophy. If you can buy into it, of course. I asked my wife, and she said, "Well, yes, but it could be that in 5 years they produce some other one and done watch, and you go back again and get the one and done. What do you do then? Will you sell the one and done and buy the next one and done?"
No. Well, I mean, then that's not what we're talking about. But what I look, I mean, there's no one way of going about one and done. I will admit as much, in the sense that to me, actually, I know you can wear just about any watch anywhere. There are no rules anymore. Truly, I mean, it's for better or worse. That's what the question of style, of formality, of dressing for the occasion has become. It's an obsolete concept at this point. But to me, whether it's platinum or not, whether it's white metal or not, for me, day date is a segment of a watch, for better or worse, that cannot be by definition one and done. I always think of the day dates as occupying such a prestigious place. At the end of the day, it's really a special occasion watch. Whereas a Daytona, even when it's in platinum, to me, is something that can easily become a daily wearer, not only because of its dimensions, not only because of its classic proportions, but also because of its design elements, because it's a chronograph, but because it's also a very wearable chronograph. It's like, I think it's 38 millimeters, not 42, not 44 or 46. It's it can it comes on an oyster bracelet, which I think at the end of the day is I think it's still the most comfortable Rolex bracelet. It does have the element of being a little jewelry like nowadays because of the polished center links, but I don't think it takes away necessarily from the general sportiness of the look. And you can always, I don't think it will work with any other modern Rolex watch just as well. But I think, again, today's Daytona is also a watch that you can easily wear on a classic leather strap, and it won't look off. Like, you can wear this with a dark brown crocodile strap, and will look amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why this would be a better everyday wearer, because they date in a way so much more. But at the end of the day, we're talking about two platinum watches, so that's one thing. And two, the Daytona is just as recognizable, if not more, at this point in time. So do you really want to wear a watch like that on a daily basis, where you attract all sorts of attention, good and bad? That is the problem.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I think nowadays it's difficult to be, as they say, subtle. There is no subtlety because people do know. It's more recognizable. It's all in the mind, I think. But what is unique about the day date is the bracelet. I think that's what makes it unique. And I think in my case, one needs to migrate a little bit away from the oyster your next 20, 30 years watch should not be the same as your previous 15 or 20 years. I don't know. It's a taste thing. Once you get into that category, I mean, again, it can be the yellow gold, or it can be the one and done, could also be a Submariner. It doesn't have to be precious metal. I mean, why do we need to cough up $75,000 to buy this? You can wear a Submariner as a one and done. I mean, most people, unlike us, most people have one watch and live with it, and many people save a lot of money to buy one watch.
I
We
love
tend to forget.
I love that you can put up an idea and then pretend that someone else has come up with it, so you get to criticize it as well. After all, it was you who proposed a decision between two platinum watches.
Well, I mean, this is the best way to avoid consumerism, right? You kind of downgrade from platinum. You go all the way down now to the riffraff, stainless steel. Soon I'll take you to Tudor.
Why not? I think
I agree.
I think the bronze Black Bay could be easily a one and done watch. And I think, honestly, we like to, again, we have such a, on a certain level, silly conversations and watch YouTube sometimes that we lose touch with reality. For a lot of people, a Tudor at this point in time has become that kind of watch. They might not know much about Rolex. They might have a very loose sense of the connection between Rolex and Tudor, but they aspire to own a Tudor. They save up a lot of money or wait for a special occasion. They get a Tudor, and that's their one watch. They get the
Yeah.
chrono, or they get one of the Black Bay 58s, and they're done for the foreseeable future, if not for the rest of their life.
And to be fair, Lord, I absolutely, to be fair, when I listen to people saying, um, "Oh, the Tudor is the poor man's Rolex. If you can't afford a Rolex, you buy a Tudor." I don't think this is a fair comment. I think it is unfair. A Tudor is as good as Rolex, in my opinion. It's just branded and marketed differently, produced more or less by the same manufacturer. Yeah, it doesn't have the same provenance and history and all of that, but one should not believe that you look, we're all unique. When I hear people saying, "Oh, I have to be unique, I need to wear this unique piece," there is no unique in the world of instruments and commodities and stuff. There is no uniqueness. The human as a person is unique. The watch doesn't make you; you make the watch. So you wear a Tudor. Wear a Tudor. This is where your pocket leads you. Take the watch, wear it. It's great. We should not look down on people who can only afford a certain watch. And I also agree with the comment that $75,000 watch, is similar. Is how can it be a daily wear? I mean, it's not a daily wear, of course, but for us it is because we see it differently. We're in the world of watches, and we think that this is normal. But of course, for a normal person, if I walk tomorrow to my son's school and it's a Saturday school that he has to go for his lessons, and I wear a $75,000 watch, most of these people are trying to make ends meet. They will think I'm completely nuts if this is my daily wear, because I have a watch which, their cars, three cars combined, or probably four, doesn't match the watch I'm wearing. So, there is a bit of insanity, but it is a world in our own sense. It is a bubble, which we like it and love it, and that's why we're discussing it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's I I approach it from both ends of the spectrum. Really, that's why I on this channel give a lot of airtime also to Seikos under 1,000 or even
Yeah.
$500. We paid a lot of attention to the new releases from the Timex S1 um, Giorgio Galli edition, which are self-winding and very wearable at 38 millimeter um, dress style watches. We have recently discussed a lot of Unimatics collaborations with other brands, especially Massina Lab. And Unimatic is, again, micro brand coming out of Italy and increasingly making watches with Swiss-made movements with Sellita SW-201 specifically. Um, and they offer a lot under 1,000 as well. So I think a lot of exciting things are happening at that segment, and to me that's just as exciting. That's just as that presents a different kind of challenge, both for the brand and a different level of excitement for the customer too. Whether you can buy more expensive watches or not is is another is another question altogether. For me, it doesn't take away from the enjoyment of watches that cost much less, because they have something else to give for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I think the beauty about the platform and your channel, Lord, is that you offer different opinions. It's you do have your likes. I mean, obviously you like Rolex and you respect the brand, and that's nice. And we tend to bash Patek Philippe. Um, I mean, there is some element to truth to the element of bashing them, but also they produce good watches. But Lange is something that we respect quite a bit. But equally so, as you said, Seiko, you do promote brands that have this appreciation about the mechanics and the looks and the wearability, as well as the affordability factor, because we shouldn't be in an ivory tower sitting up there saying, the best watch is this and the best watch is that. It's like people saying their pistols are the best. There is no best pistol. Nowadays, they produce so many of them, and so many brands are great brands that there is no one brand.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, Hans is drawing attention to the Tissot PRX and the Powermatic 80 movement, right? Which is basically the Swatch Group's modified version of the ETA 2824.
if you can pull it up, Lord, we can see it.
Of course. And what I want to say is that's in whenever it comes up, I keep talking about the Powermatic 80 movement as the Swatch Group's secret weapon, so to speak, because they have it in a lot of watches that from Hamilton, from Tissot, from Certina, that are offered under $1,000. And they offer a great value as well. And these are watches that are listed at 650, of course, and you can probably get them for even less, either from an authorized dealer or from eBay, where they are listed as new.
Are they widely available? I paid a visit
Yeah.
to someone here and they didn't have any of them, and they said they're all sold, but I don't believe them.
Um, two, two, two things. I mean, one reason I might believe them, this is exactly the kind of watch that would sell like hotcakes around this time of the year, right? Because it is something that you can easily access, buy, and gift to someone without necessarily
Yeah,
thinking about, do they like watches? Whatever. I mean, it's a very precious gift, but it's also not something that you have to save for years and years necessarily um, to come up with the budget for it. So around this time of the year, that might be the case, but on any given day, I used to look up on eBay and you would find for $450, $500 multiple Tissot PRXs with any combination of dials. Um,
and you can have a green dial on this.
yes, there is a green dial which actually Hans has. Hans has a green dial. I know some time ago he sent me a picture of it, but I don't have easy access to it now. But this is the green dial version. And they also have a quartz version, which is smaller, so perhaps a little more universally wearable, a little more unisex, and offers some different options in terms of dial color, in terms of finish. There's like a PVD gold coated version, and there's also now a chronograph version as well. That's a little more expensive, of course. But yeah, this is the famous PRX Powermatic 80, and then they also have the PRX 35, which is quartz. Well, they actually have some versions, just to correct myself, of the PRX 35 that are automatic, but a lot of it is quartz. Like this is a quartz version, for example. This is a quartz version that seems to be out of stock on the website.
This will be Saad's favorite watch.
Maybe he can even fool his father, because of the unique application of the coating. It certainly doesn't look as cheap as a gold plated watch. I can give it that. I mean, there's so much in terms of design, in terms of dial colors, size options, and now some of the strap makers online are providing like fitted rubber straps for these watches that that makes them really flexible and really desirable in this particular segment. If you are getting a watch right around $500, the Tissot PRX is kind of the it watch now. Everyone wants one. It's like the SKX 007 of today.
Very nice. It's very nice, and I also like the Seikos you have, that line, the GMT, as well as the colored ones.
Mm.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, I think those were the Seiko Sports GMT series were one of the hot um, pieces of the year. They are they're available now, and I'm sure you can. Again, this is a watch that you can easily acquire from an authorized dealer, and it has 3 different dial options. I'm particularly fond of this kind of tone on tone approach with the black charcoal gray dial with black uh, and gray bicolor bezel. Yeah, I like it. It has, of course, it has the kind of collar GMT movement, but hey, it's still a nice function to have, especially uh, for a watch that's priced right under $500. The SSK series, I think, provides some great options.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. I like, of course, the fancy color. So is that orange?
Yeah,
Oh, I love the orange or the yellow. If it's yellow, even better.
it's not yellow, but you can. I mean, if you tell yourself a few times, maybe you'll believe it.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, yellow, orange, same. Do they have it in red or something? Anything else? Any other
Not
color?
yet. Not yet. These were the 3 first ones they released, but I'm sure that's one of the things that Seiko loves to do, as kind of offer all these different dial color options and limited edition ones every so often just to spice things up. So I'm sure they will come up with a few things. These were just released a few months ago, so next year, who knows? There will be a um, different thing. Hans says the SKX 009 is my gardening watch. Uh, yeah, I love wearing all my Seikos, man. It's that's what I wear to the gym. That's what I wear to the pool. Seikos are great. I like the SKXs. I like my SRPE uh, green King Turtle. It's a great watch. All right, I do want to close this time at 4. Unfortunately, neither Thomas nor um, Saad were able to join us today. I don't think. I'm sending the link out again.
Yeah.
See if they will jump on in the last few minutes. But guys, if you want to squeeze in a few extra questions, or if you have any requests, please don't hesitate to do so. And like SP, do it with a super chat, even better. £10 sterling.
Thank you, SP.
Thank you so much, SP. Seiko 5 for 250 quid is the best value for a cheap watch. I love the watch content. Yeah, I still love. Look, I mean, I commented a little bit about this, and I made it actually an entire video right upon the release of these GMT Seiko 5 series watches, um, and I was basically making the argument that they do capture a lot of what made the SKX special, and maybe we are getting a little too caught up in ISO certifications and proper dive watch pedigree, in terms of having at least 200-meter depth rating and everything. um, I understand, for a certain generation among us, who became involved with the internet watch community, um, I think we developed a rather unhealthy obsession with dive watches that it was a huge disappointment to us when Seiko graduated from the SKX series, eliminated it, and replaced it with Seiko 5 and reduced the depth rating to 100. But for an everyday watch, I think that's not really a detriment. So for that reason, I think Seiko 5 has an entire range of watches that can appeal to each and every taste, that are always available. It's not always limited edition this, limited edition that, right? I love Unimatic, but they release something and it's a run of 99 or it's a run of 200 or 400, and they sell out. So you have to wait until the next season where they might collaborate with someone that you like and they come out with something that satisfies you. Whereas for Seiko, they always have something in-house that is available for you and that you can grab and go for yourself, to someone as a gift, man, woman, everything in between. Seiko has something for everybody. So this is my reflections
Yeah,
on.
very very well said. Very well said. And it reminds me a little bit this limited edition that is AP. AP reminds me of this limited edition that never ends. It's always limited edition, 50th anniversary. Then it's gonna be 55th. Then it's 100 out of 200 and all of that. Please super chat.
uh, Hans Knees and Toes, thank you so much, man.
Thank
£2.
you, Hans. Thank you
Appreciate it.
very much, man.
I appreciate it, guys. It really does make a difference. Again, this channel doesn't have any sponsors. It doesn't have, at least yet, as of yet, any side hustle. I don't sell merch or anything like that, and I don't have any sort of organic connections with a gray market dealer. I don't try to direct traffic to someone who is trying to sell you a cheap watch that is dressed in some made up historical significance. I'm not a shill for anyone. I'm completely beholden to my community and completely at the behest of whatever you give me in terms of feedback, in terms of support, in terms of your interventions and participation. I have the stamina, so I can, I always appreciate having panelists like the professor, like Saad, like Ozzy, but sometimes they're not there and I still run for 4-5 hours. So for me, it's no problem.
You're
I'm
right. You're
always,
right, Lord.
always willing to give back as
I
long as
admire.
you
I
sustain the.
admire. Yeah, yeah. I admire a lot your moments of loneliness when you have to do this. Sometimes I wake up at 5 in the morning. It's difficult now for me to join you at 5 in the morning in the winter because it's really dark, really, really dark. But when I do during the summer, I admire you because there are some long stretches of loneliness where you need to shoulder the difficulties of doing a live stream for 2 3 hours until I join. And it's not easy. I can tell everybody it's not easy. You cannot have a monologue with yourself, and the super chats go a long way to help you. It's moral support more than anything else, right? Because
Yeah.
it basically says that they appreciate you, and we appreciate you, of course.
Speaking of which, Canuck Watch Collector, 10 Canadian, great content. Early streams are nice. Appreciate you, man. And again, well, having that's one advantage of being mentally unstable. So I'm used to talking to myself, Professor, unlike a normal person. So I can sustain a conversation for multiple hours on end. But joking aside, um, again, to me, ultimately, it is uh, this channel is about establishing a platform where everyone can participate, giving, opening up a space for conversation and exchange where we can increase our knowledge, spend our money a little more carefully, consciously, and intentionally. Um, and I do want to respond to Whole Milk when he says we all shill for Eric Wind. I love Eric. I love the kind of time he gives to this channel uh, for the interviews. If it comes up in the conversation, I bring stuff up. And as part of his interviews, of course, when he says something that I actually know exists on his website, I bring it up, and that's something I do in recognition for the time and effort that he puts in on this platform, in recognition of the knowledge that he shares generously with my audience. By now, I consider him a friend, but he's not a sponsor of this channel. He has not, and he will never have to pay a single penny to appear on this channel or for me to bring something up. If I need to bring something up from his website, I'll do it because he's that good, because he has a great eye for quality, for aesthetics, and he has a great way of harnessing that knowledge to be able to market that one particular watch. And there's something to learn from that, both as an enthusiast and as a customer. So it's always very educational for me, and I'm sure for everyone else, to have Eric involved in this channel. And I always appreciate his time above all, and I will always try to give something back to him in recognition for that. And I don't recognize it as shilling. I know, but texting is like that. So you throw me something, I try to clarify. I didn't take it personally either, but I don't want to leave these kinds of comments hanging like that, right? Because I think Eric is above, at a different level compared to many other retailers, vintage watch dealers, and gray market profiteers. Same thing with Alex Greenberg of Cherry Creek Watch Co. Same thing with John Reardon of Collectability LLC. Same thing with Davide Parmigiani. There are a handful of these kinds of people that I will always set aside and place in a different segment, even when I don't have any professional relations to them, or even if I don't have a personal connection to them. I mean, I don't have a professional or personal connection to John Reardon, but I think he is at a different level. Same thing with Parmigiani. When I dealt with him in person in a casual way, he was always remarkably nice to me. Never had to, but still, I don't owe him anything. But I think he's still a different kind of person, a legend, really. So.
Lord, did we mention SP? What's his name? We did. Okay, we recognized him. All
Yes.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Standard and Poor's.
Maybe. Maybe.
Standard and Poor's. No, I want to say
That
that
could be a good. By the way, that could be a good name for a channel or a show that focuses on watches that cost less than $1,000, with tongue in cheek, of course. Again, like, that's one of my favorite segments, honestly. Sometimes I just want to be more careless and just buy each watch that I'm interested in, in that category. But I always end up saving, that 1,000, that 500, that's 2,000 or 3,000 that I could spend on a micro brand, and put it towards my next watch. I don't know if it's the right strategy or not, but it's what pleases me, and it's what worked for me so far.
this hobby, Lord, is about pleasing. When I hear people telling me that this is an investment, uh, I go back into the watch world probably 23 years now, and back then there was nothing related to the investment world. It was all about the hobby, the interest, and so forth. Suddenly, because of the times we're in, because a lot of people made money quickly, and a lot of them think that this is an investment like other items, that a watch is in reality an asset. And in some ways it is, but in many ways it is not. It is a hobby, it is an appreciation of what goes into it. Um, so, yeah, and of course, you need to be pleased with what you have. Nobody can tell you that you should get this because it's a fantastic asset class. I mean, had you bought watches in the gray market 6 months ago, and you were anticipating the correction to reverse, when everything went down by 20%, um, I tell people, wait and see, 2023 is coming, and there is still a way down for these watches. And mathematically, if anybody knows anything about simple mathematics, um, when you go down by 50%, the way up is not 50, it's more than 50, and the trajectory is far longer. So the recovery is not going to be as easy as people think, because interest rates and liquidity is not going to be the same. So do not look at this watch world as an investment. Look at it first as an appreciation for the beauty, for the workmanship, for what it is. And I think you define that workmanship in your appreciation of the watches. And that's why I am here, and people like Saad and others are here with you.
I think when you say that watches, even though they can have aspects that resemble investments, even though you can gain or lose, or make significant financial gains or losses when you buy and sell watches, they're not investment grade assets in the same way that stocks and bonds and even cryptocurrencies are. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think watches are more like precious bottles of wine, collectible cigars, um,
Yeah.
rare aged single malt Scotch whiskies, which means what? You buy something at, if you have the disposable income, uh, ideally at retail price, if not at the trending price on the market. And ultimately you have something in your hands that you can always enjoy if everything else fails. Because tomorrow, if the cigar boom is proven to be a bubble, and if all of these Coibas and Por Larrañagas and Ramon Ayoneses and all these other beautiful cigars, Monte Cristos, etc., if they are not worth anything, you can still sit your ass down and have a very good smoke with each and every one of them. If you have chosen them carefully, and if you have bought cigars that reflect your taste, that you actually enjoy smoking. Same thing with Scotch. Tomorrow, a bottle that you have spent hundreds of dollars on might not even be worth $20-30. No one knows. No one can guarantee that. But if you bought a nice bottle of uh, 16-year-old, 21-year-old from your favorite distillery, you will still enjoy that 10, 20 years down the road, independent of its market value. Same thing with a good watch. If you have put a part of your disposable income, a kind of money that you won't miss and that won't cause you to lack on anything, that would not hurt you or your loved ones financially, you will always be able to strap it on and go through life and get some enjoyment out of it. That's not the case with losing money on the stock market. That's not the case even with losing money on say real estate even. That's not the case. That's not the case certainly with just putting your money in a bank account where it can actually dissipate and disappear in the next financial crisis. So I think there's a level of enjoyment in this segment of luxury product if you're actually into that transcends contemporary value that the market decides.
The only thing I may add is that in the case of the house, you can still live in the house if you bought it, even if the price has gone down. Allow me, only because I want to use my professorial capacity to say something about the rating agencies, because I was heavily involved in the financial crisis when I was in the banking sector back in the great financial crisis of 08, 09. So I was in the middle of that crisis. So one of the problems about the rating agencies of today, which hasn't been addressed since that crisis, is that nobody rates the rating agencies. The rating agencies are rating everybody, but who actually does due diligence on these rating agencies? They never fix the problem. I used to say that the biggest problem was regulating the banks. The banks were never regulated; they just became bigger as a result of the financial crisis, and the rating agencies continued to rate unabatedly, and nobody really checks them. On the issue of the cryptocurrency, I don't think the fundamentals for the big ones is over, but I don't. This is not a platform to be advertising on crypto or to be bashing crypto. I mean, there are many studies on that, but just to the comment that was saying that crypto is over, and then the other comment saying no, it's not over. I think it remains to be seen if it is over. I am of the view that it is not over. There is something fundamentally different now than before, and we will see it in the coming years. But again, I just wanted to say something about the rating agencies that were never really addressed during the financial crisis. That's all, guys.
Thank you, Professor. Yeah, I mean, my comment about real estate wasn't necessarily about. Well, I mean, if you can actually buy your house, that's one thing. If you go in a mortgage with under certain conditions, and you were just talking about that last financial crisis that we have experienced, you can actually end up losing. Not only your livelihood, your shelter, but also your life too. Eventually, that's the most cruel thing um, about the system in the U.S. Now, I'm not a socialist by any stretch of imagination, actually, but I'm always amazed by how exposed and how vulnerable people are in this country, especially in the United States. Like, once you are jobless, once you're unemployed, and therefore once you don't have a health plan that's mostly paid by your employer, you literally risk dying because you can't possibly afford going to a
Yeah,
doctor. And I'm not even talking about
yeah, yeah,
getting treated for something significant, but these regular checks, which are usually the way that you get ahead of certain health problems and risks before they develop into something deadly. And you probably know this. People literally died because of that economic crisis, the Great Repression, as they called it at the time, I think. Um,
yeah. I mean, it's in the U.S. I think the structure of the social safety nets are really against the folks who lose their jobs. Once they lose their jobs, I mean, the average saving ratio for an American is about 2 months, and that's why they hold on to their jobs. But also, an American is so leveraged in everything from their house, their style, their living standard, their car, their education. I mean, everything is leveraged. Very different than some of the other countries in Europe, which tend to be more socialist. I wouldn't call them socialist, but they do have more of a social caring mentality. And again, it depends on which country you look at. But, the comment about an insider, everybody can be an insider. The fact of the matter is that if stock markets in the US fall to zero, I bet you the United States we have a serious problem surviving because everything that is so fundamental, the fabric of society is dependent on these 401ks and the pension funds, which have invested everything in the stock market in the US, which is, in my opinion, the best stock market, the most liquid. So the system, doesn't burn and die in that sense, but you do have instances of cycles and bursts and bubbles which occur, and we're going through the bursting of the big bubble that existed for 13 years, which was cheap money, easy money, and this senseless way of living that everything goes up and we make money in stock markets and wine and art and crypto and what have you, and nothing gets corrected. And I think now we're going to see the correction, but it's not going to die. The system is not going to disappear, guys. We have gone through crisis many, many times, and the world has recovered, and the US has a beautiful way of innovating and creating. Of course, it has as you said, Lord, a way of bringing also creating death and destruction and unemployment and people losing homes. That is not the bright and beautiful side of capitalism, and unfortunately hasn't been addressed. over the 60, 70 years that we have seen the viciousness of the system get corrected in the US. Anyway, enough with the instruction.
No, no, not at all. But again, today I need to end it about now. Well, about
Okay.
20 minutes ago. But this is a conversation that we will continue. I will just remark this when it comes to the question of the end, right? This apocalyptic tone that has defined much of Western civilization. We can go all the way back to early Christian communities who were waiting for Jesus to come back anytime now. And it's been more than 2 millennia now, and people are still waiting. But joking aside, I just want to remark this. Oswald Spengler wrote The Decline of Western Civilization and published the second volume in 1922. It's been 100 years.
Good point. Excellent.
Is still declining. It's still in a crisis. It has gone through at least another world war, but who is counting? I think.
Excellent point.
I think the ends are usually much further away than we expect, but the damage is done in that deferral of everything is going to hell in a handbasket. We don't even have to worry about it. It's all gone to shit anyways. I think the damage is done usually with that mentality, that for us to think this is the way things have been, and we are now inhabiting a decline or a decadent moment in history, and we will never get any better. That mentality brings us down and down, and there's no bottom. Like the end is never arriving.
Yes, excellent point. And also Francis Fukuyama wrote about the end of civilization, the end of history, right? You remember that?
Of
the
course.
End of history. And then Samuel Huntington, who I was able to be, at the end of his great reign, I don't know, a student of his, wrote about the end of civilization and so forth. I mean, I completely agree. Anyway, our system has a way of inventing and reinventing and regenerating. So it's easy for us to say the collapse is coming, the end is coming, and we're all going to die. And I mean, fine, but that's a view. But the opposite is that we're still surviving. I mean, anyway.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your presence and support. You being here and being part of the live stream of the panel, like the professor did, and all of you in the chat already means a lot. But I also want to recognize everyone who has contributed with super chats, hands, knees, and toes, Mike David, Bruce G, Floodland 99, SP, Hans again, Canuck Watch Collector, all of you, thank you so much, guys. If you want to support the channel, the information is in the crawling ticker. It is included in the video description, and it's even pinned in the chat. So all the links are very easily available if you want to contribute. As always, you can, of course, always direct your questions and requests with a super chat when I'm running the live streams. Please hit the like button on the way out. And if you want to, if you actually sign up on Patreon, which is at a very introductory and special rate for now until the end of the year at $10 a month, you will be receiving from me at least 3 links to great watch deals online, and those will not only provide you value propositions on a daily basis, up to 100 different watches every month. It will also broaden your horizons a little bit, because I establish always in every post a certain focus, a certain segment, a certain theme around watches that have fallen through the cracks, that have disappeared under the radar, so to speak. So it's also very educational and informative. I am going to raise that rate in the next year, and I'm going to start providing more as well through the Patreon. But if you sign up now, as with my most loyal supporters, all of it becomes grandfathered in. So I always appreciate that. Peace and love. Hans Nizantos says, and Ozzy says, upvote. Thank you, guys.
Hey,
Upvote.
Ozzy. Nice to see you, man.
And I will see you in the next one, maybe even tonight, maybe even in
Oh,
less than 4 hours. I don't know. I don't promise anything. I'm gonna do a few things now and then maybe go out for a few hours and maybe I'll be back. But no promises. Take care, everyone. Bye.